Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of Joy of Puzzles. I have for you today a puzzle titled Minifigure, or Minifigure Puzzle, Lego. It was manufactured in 2020 by the QP Group. While the history of the company is not really disclosed on their website, I could find that they are based in China with over 2,500 employees in 2 manufacturing facilities. They're kind of a generalized printing company. I mean, not really focused on anything in particular, but obviously they are subcontracting out and doing puzzles. Now, the publisher is a company called Chronicle Books. They are an independent publishing company out in California, and they do lots of things. Books, stationery, games. So strangely, when I go to their website, I actually don't find a section on puzzles, though obviously I have puzzles from them. Also listed on the box is an organization called FSC, the Forest Stewardship Council. This is apparently some sort of voluntary organization that companies join and participate in sustaining the forests around the world. The artist for this puzzle is someone named Blake Powell. Well, putting his name into Google came back with tons of hits. Who knew that was such a common name, and a lot of, we won't say famous people, but certain people of note with that name. So I ended up tracking him down, strangely, by typing in the word Lego to go with it, and I found a list of 25 Instagram pages dedicated to Legos. And on that list was his Instagram account. Now, I don't have an Instagram account. I don't do anything with Instagram, so I know what it is, but not something I follow or deal with. But I put his link up there. It was called, I would say it stands for Boulevard Bricks, and lots of little cute pictures of miniatures and such. Yeah, a lot of Lego stuff. Who knew there was such a thing as tons of Instagrammers around the world taking snapshots of Lego pieces in odd places. This puzzle is 1,000 pieces, and it took 6.5 hours to build. My strategy was the border, but as it is a lot of just plain white pieces, at least along certain portions of it, I quickly realized, having done a couple of these, that kind of a waste of time. There was little sections of it I could do where clearly you could build the body of a figure, but for the most part I held off finishing the border until much later in the build. The strategy for me was pick a color. I ended up going with pink and purple. There is not a lot of it in the puzzle, so those figures really did stand out. And then after that I went after the green and some red. You would have thought there would have been a lot more of that, but there really wasn't. Yellow was a prevalent color, so I avoided that till the end. You know, you try to complete the individuals, place them in their correct location, and then build around them. There's certainly a lot of distinct figures and pieces in here, and the grind at the end wasn't terrible. I did have to do a full-blown hunt and peck towards the end, when I was stuck with white pieces with just a tiny little sliver of color on them, and kind of had to guess where they went. I also found that a lot of the bodies and legs were the same color, while, lots of blue and black. So that was a little bit of hunt and peck at the end there for that, which is why it took 6.5 hours. But basically, pick a color you want to work with and go for it. Whatever catches your eye will get you there. I would say start with uncommon colors first. Alright, let's review this puzzle. I'm going to review it in 4 categories on a scale of 1 to 5. The first category is the paper material itself, the paperboard. How good is the material? How well is the image bonded to it? And I have to say, this brand, I've now built 3 by this company, way above average. I'm going to give this one a 5. And the reason I do that is the paper is actually laminated on both surfaces. The back of the puzzle is plain white, but it consists of the same what I would say was normally a printed surface. So the material itself and the paper is very rigid, well cut, and easily my favorite type of material to work with. Always pleased when I have one of these pop open. The next category is the puzzle cut quality and design. So, as you know, I've added the design component to this conversation because the cut quality is fairly crisp, but the design is not great. I'm going to give this a 2 for the design. While the pieces don't have any little trailing edges and such, the design is such that with the 4 basic shapes of a jigsaw puzzle, plenty of pieces fit within other pieces. You would think that wouldn't happen so much, but there are a lot of plain white spaces that it happened with enough frequency that I'm going to give them a 2 for their design. The third category is the difficulty. How long did it take me? How hard was it to do? I consider 8 hours normal difficulty. At 6.5, I'm still going to give this a 3. We'll call it normal. It was certainly easier than the other the little Lego head puzzle I did. That was a lot more work because it was just tons of yellow. But here there's enough variety that you're not going to struggle with this one. I'll give it a 3. Normal difficulty, 6.5 hours. Pretty straightforward. The fourth category, the most subjective of all the categories, frameability. If I was the type of person that made a puzzle once, sealed it forever, hung it on my wall, and kept it as a talking piece, would this one make the list? And the answer is absolutely not. This is a 1 for me. Now, I'm an adult. This is not something I would consider. Certainly a youngster who loves Legos and collects all the kits and wants to go to Lego World and do all those wonderful things, they would probably love to have this puzzle, this as a poster, hanging in a room somewhere or in their playroom or wherever they got that stuff. But for me, as a grown-up, no, this is a 1. I can't picture hanging this someplace in my house. I would get more questions than I would want to answer about why I would hang such a thing. So definitely a 1 for me. Alright, but none of that's really a knock, right? The overall score, not a linear thing, but I find myself giving this a slightly below average score. I'm going to give this a 2. Now, the quality of the puzzle is great, the 5 for the material itself, but the design of the pieces and fussing with them really detracted from how much I enjoyed this puzzle. Not enough that I would say I'll never build this again, but it is kind of low on the list. It's going to be below average too. It's a pretty straightforward build. It's probably something I would share with young nephews and nieces and gladly build it with them. But on my own, I probably won't put this one together again. So a 2 for this one as its overall score. Alright, what else to say about this puzzle? I will say I've enjoyed this brand in the respect that the material quality above average does make me happy when I discover that. The other puzzle of that type was the color wheel. I don't think it was made by them, but maybe the manufacturing company is the same. I'd have to go back and look. That is, to me, a wonderful thing. I wish more folks did it. I understand it's more expensive, but I would gladly pay a couple more dollars for that. I also liked that when I opened this is the first puzzle I've ever purchased that had a resealable plastic bag in it. It's as though someone were watching a video and heard someone say, hey, you should put these pieces in a Ziploc bag in case you drop the box and they spill all over the place. Obviously this was made in 2020, so that probably isn't the case, so I'd love to take credit for it. But it was nice. I appreciated it that it came that way, and while I do that on my own, I do wish they all did that, all the manufacturers. Hey, at the end here, you're going to see me take the edges apart, and I will put them in their own little baggie and put the rest in the original bag that they came in, just so when I store them, I don't drop them, or if I do drop them, it's not a tragedy. I appreciate all you folks out there that take 10 minutes out of one of your days to watch one of these videos. Be sure to share them with all your fellow insomniacs, and go ahead and subscribe, or maybe click the like button. And I look forward to bringing everyone more puzzle videos in the very near future. Thanks again, everyone.